I swear a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what may well be the finale of the Lobotomy Corporation Abno story record readings, unless of course I decide to do the back Abnos in the future, which I may well do. It'll be another reading video and they're always fun. I don't see why not, but probably not anytime soon. I have no plans to do it anytime soon. For now, this will be the finale. We have 9 abnormalities to get through, and then we have 2 endings to check out. So, this will be an interesting and enlightening day, I'm sure, for me, probably specifically, as you guys pretty much know all this already. But I see no reason to not immediately crack on. I'm surprised that we actually hadn't done the King of Greed yet, but apparently we haven't done the King of Greed, so prepare to hear that Cultist Simulator track I always use because it seems very applicable here. The first bit of humanity's desire started with the bite of a sweet apple. We've been banished from Eden for that sin, and now we're standing inside a vast orchard. My basket is so large, all of the fruits of the world can't make it full. But is it so bad to lust for honey when there are flowers? After all, we are born to pursue happiness. Happiness became obsession, obsession became greed, and the greed forever solidified to become a golden amber. The happiness in the beginning, still holding a smile, dwells inside. The first seed of desire originated from the pure yearning for happiness. The tiny seed grew larger and larger, hungering for more. Over time, the seed hardened and turned into a piece of shiny gem. Enticed by its sheen, a starving fish swallowed it, but it only made the fish even hungrier. The desires of people usually go unfulfilled. Many desires are abandoned, but they are not completely gone. They hide deep in the subconscious, lurking at the bottom of the lake, ready to spring up at any moment. However, the yearning for happiness may also rear its head from time to time, darting its tongue like a snake. As soon as a tiny piece of bait falls into the river, the hungry fish will come up and snatch it in an instant. We delude ourselves to be highly rational beings who are in full control of these things, but it's such a preposterous belief, it's laughable. We don't have as much control over ourselves as we believe. The magical girl, who was no longer a magical girl, ate many things: authority, money, fame, and many other forms of pleasure. She ended up eating away anything in her sight. Now only visceral greed remains. Someone's diary. Many people have secretly wished for a hero. They say there was something called soul therapy. What does it feel like to have an ill soul? We are all healthy, but maybe all of this is a tragic illusion. Once, there were people who tried to change the world. We all remember them. We remember how they met their downfall. Desires. I know of desires that ruin all things. We no longer believe in something, nor do we entertain a hope for a miracle. We don't think too much about why they've changed, and we don't blame them, for we have realized that endless desire brings despair. Sometimes I feel a terrible dejection, but I do not know where the pain comes from. Many people have secretly wished for a hero. Deep is the sorrow of the world. Greed, deeper still than agony. Sadness says, "Begone, pass away." But greed seeks eternity, seeks deep, deep eternity. This was very well written, but I have to admit, slightly disappointed. Not because it's bad, it's not bad at all, but I really was hoping for more hard facts, as it were, on the origins of the King of Greed. Again, that's not really the point of Abnormality story records. A lot of it is just exploring the concepts behind such things, and the King of Greed is nothing if not a concept made manifest, but I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about this character. Personally, not just what caused them to be what they are. I'd like, and the concept of greed itself and how it's, born from the desire to pursue happiness. I understand, it fits, it's good, it's well written, I enjoyed reading it. I understand all of this, but, I would just like to know a bit more about the King of Greed, and I feel like I guess the same with the Queen of Hatred and the Knight of Despair. I wanted to know a bit more about them as quote-unquote people. In fact, I'd like to see lore exploring these as characters, because it sounds like they've done stuff throughout time, affected human civilization in some way, shape, or form, posing as heroes apparently, and I'd like to know more about that, maybe even a game, that could be cool, but as always, we are left with tantalizingly little info on the most interesting abnormalities, which is frustrating, but, that's what makes them so interesting, is that we don't know anything about them. We want to know more about them, but we can't. The desire for information, yes, it's greedy. We're greedy for information, you get it? Now, Gold Rush is an awesome piece of Aleph kit. I'd say it's probably, pound for pound, one of the least impressive pieces of Aleph kit. It probably does a lot of damage. I imagine, actually, if you look at it statistically, especially with its special attack and effects, it's probably one of the higher damaging Aleph pieces of gear, but I just never got much out of it. I don't know. I was probably using it wrong, knowing me. And Gold Rush is cool, although it's, to be fair, this is a VAV abnormality, so the fact that you get a piece of Aleph kit out of it is incredible. It is incredible. And that suit is very cool, although Jesus Christ, that pale vulnerability, oh boy. The gift is pretty good, it's pretty fine. If Instinct Work success rate actually worked in-game, that would be amazing, but it doesn't, so meh. As for the King of Greed itself, relatively easy to work with, although if you get it early, you're in for a bad time, because if you don't have high temperance across the board and you're not getting good results, yeah, the King of Greed is probably going to break out quite a lot, and until you figure out what its gimmick is when it fights, you're probably going to lose some people, as I did when I lost 2 of my best agents at the time, because I decided to be proactive in its suppression, which you should not do. I tried to ambush the King of Greed in its containment unit before it got out, because I figured if I could do as much damage as possible with my 2 Aleph users and just suppress the fucking thing, surely they could take any attacks the King of Greed could dish out. And I'm sure you can understand, I was wrong. I was very wrong. I was extremely wrong. And yeah. King of Greed, quite dangerous, but good abnormality. I like them. They're also quite good in Slay the Spire's Lobotomy Corporation mod, which I may explore a bit more in the future. I'm kind of planning to, actually. Next up, where does one go when they die? Where did all the employees who worked here go? They must have returned home, to a haven where family and warmth await. The employees cannot leave. Once they join the company, the only way to leave is to resign. Then those resigned employees must have returned home, having earned what they wanted and being full of hope. We are the feathers of a wing. Resignation isn't as simple as you think, just like how a feather doesn't detach from a wing of its own will. Then, where did all of the resigned employees go? They're bound to the company the moment they enter. Even if they do resign, they are doomed to stay here forever. Long ago, in some world, people believed that they would become beautiful beings with small wings when they died. It's a silly story, nonsensical too. If we get wings, will we be able to leave this place? Do we get our wings only after we retire? They say the mourner with a huge luggage on his back had come to be a savior to all. Eventually, he himself was trapped in this place, and now he wanders the company with only the memory of an empty faith. He's carrying a coffin, a large coffin to pay tribute to the employees who have nowhere else to go. However, it is still too small to comfort those innocent sacrifices. Inside it is a kaleidoscope of butterflies waiting for the moment to fall asleep. Until then, they flutter their wings uselessly, the wings that may have been jumbled many into one, or split into many. Butterflies are supposed to pollinate flowers, but not a single proper flower blooms in this place. There is no choice but to wait. After all, there must be an end to every world. So obviously, the funeral of the dead butterflies, I think, even in the text that comes up when you're working with the funeral, is in direct reference to the employees of the facility, and this just confirms it. That is every employee who has died, or quote-unquote, resigned. No one resigns, no one retires. People die. Probably get fed to the nameless fetus if they get too old to do their job properly, now that I think about it. Or fed to Spider-Bud to get more energy. Or sacrificed to Censored to keep it under control. There are numerous unpleasant fates that behold an employee who can't do their job anymore, I imagine. The place is that cutthroat that I am sure that is the fate of most employees. However, Orang retired without dying. No, really, they did. No, they totally did. Yeah, trust me, they did. They definitely retired without dying. Definitely. The funny thing is, Solemn Lament, the gift, is rather mediocre. Its benefit comes from the fact that it is one of 2, I think, if I'm not counting back Abnos here, one of 2 right-back gifts, which actually gives it value because it does something more than nothing, and you're probably not going to get White Knight for quite a while. Is it White Knight or... No, I think it's Twilight who does right-back, isn't it? You know what? I think we can find out very quickly, actually. Where are you, Apocalypse Bird? Oh, it doesn't show us the gift. Oh, I can't remember. I think Twilight goes right back and... Paradise Lost goes left back, pretty sure. But the point is, you don't get a lot for that slot. To have something there is great. Now, Solemn Lament, the weapons and gear. The suit is a HE, and the weapons are a VAV, and don't appear to do that much damage, but my 2 employees who had Solemn Lament, Morch and... Oh, I can't remember the guy's name, but I really liked him. Long black hair, sort of cat eyes. I even remember his story that he was like a pampered noble boy who, you know, had to go out into the real world, which was working at Lob Corp, but I can't remember his fucking name, which is annoying, but I remember the nugget clear as day. But the point is, my 2 Solemn Lament users never died. Maybe they died in some of my attempts on, say, Bina or Day 49, or Paradise Lost, sure, but they never permanently died. They were at the facility until the very end, which is exceptionally impressive. It's a good suit, it's a good weapon, this is a good abnormality. It's not even that difficult to deal with if it breaks out. And it's kind of easy to get it to break out. Fortitude level 4 or higher is quite annoying and easy to forget about, but if the funeral does break out, it's not the end of the world. Cool Abno, I like it. Overall, just very cool. Next up. If you spot an employee whose face is turning dark green, please report it to the department Sephira immediately. Be advised to verify that the cause of discoloration is not a simple stomachache. When suggested to visit the medical ward, those who have a stomachache would reluctantly agree, but an infected employee would try too hard to act as though nothing is wrong. In this situation, try not to alert the employee that anything is out of the ordinary. When the host becomes agitated, the infection will speed up. If the skin begins to change, that means at least 30% of the host's brain has already been consumed. Any conversation at this point is the abnormality's attempt to mimic the host's behavior, so don't pay it any mind. The abnormality resides within the host's brain, and the host will not be able to feel any physical sensation. You can try stabbing the employee with something sharp, feigning it as a mistake, but this is not recommended. As mentioned before, the host should already be around 30% merged with the abnormality, so conversing will be impossible. It can enter your body through any aperture. This doesn't mean covering up your orifices will impede its entrance, but it will help ease your mind to cover up as much as possible when you enter the containment unit. The naked nest's final destination is the frontal lobe. You will become the serpent's nest, attacking anything in sight. Please understand that we'll be forced to fire on sight and burn your corpse, should you become a nest. Yeah, luckily I never really dealt with nakedness, I don't think. I don't remember any of my employees actually becoming infected. I think maybe during one of my Day 49 attempts, I think someone might have become infected, but I can't confirm it. I don't remember, didn't look hard enough, was kind of, distracted by other things, as is typically the case with Day 49, as it is a nightmare. So I can tell that the naked nest clearly has the potential to be absolutely devastating. I'm just lucky it never happens to me. It's a cool idea, and I was always kind of expecting to run into some kind of abnormality that would spread a disease throughout the facility. I was expecting some kind of chain reaction negative effect the entire time I've been playing this game. And as it turns out, I didn't get naked nest till like near the end, I don't think. While it would have been interesting to see it, at large, I'm just kind of glad it never really happened, because I was desperately just trying to beat the game by the third run, and you know what? I just didn't need the extra issues. Hand gift is fine. That's a strong buff to HP and SP. It's good. If you got an employee who's got like Discord, the gift Discord, that could be helpful. More HP is always good. Especially if, I don't know, you have an employee called Xena who maxed out the Crumbling Armor's gift and has lost a lot of HP as a result. Something like that can help. Exuvier is a fantastic weapon and suit, actually. My Exuvier users just tended to do quite well. The weapon already does excessive amounts of damage, but with its special effect allowing for increased red damage, or more to the point, reduced red damage resistance on its targets, so allowing for increased red damage across the board. Exuvier is not only a powerful weapon, it's a powerful support weapon as well. It's great, and the suit is fine. Looks kind of cool as well, to be honest, as long as you don't imagine that the suit's coat is made of the same material as, say, the weapon and naked nest itself, at which point it becomes a lot more gross. But yeah, cool abnormality, a decent risk. Best avoided, but we all know you can't just avoid things in Lob Corp. Unless you get the infinite re-extraction mod like I did, but I only did that so I could beat the game with 100% abnos. We're off on a tangent. Let's go to the next one. A mechanical abnormality capable of walking on its own. Someone's persistent gaze can be felt from the keyhole inside the machine. It blinks, but never closes. The purpose of the eye or what it is observing is unknown. After several experiments, it has been discovered that when one or more employees stare at the abnormality, the condition becomes far worse. Experiment D-002. An employee was sent in after covering their eyes with a thick cloth. The cloth must be made from a fine, opaque material. Tests must be conducted to ensure the cloth completely blocks their vision. After entering the abnormality's containment unit, they face the direction of the abnormality for 10 seconds. No reaction. Experiment D-003. Similar to experiment D-002, an employee was sent in with their eyes covered. The cloth was identical to the one used in 002, but allowed the employee to discern some forms. After entering the containment unit of the abnormality, they faced towards the abnormality for 10 seconds. After 5 seconds, it aggressively approached the employee. Experiment halted. Experiment D-004. This time, a blind employee was sent in without any covering. The employee faced the abnormality for more than 30 seconds. There was no reaction. Please dispose of the subject used in D-004 immediately. Memo. When training employees who have never worked with this abnormality before, it goes without saying, but please make sure to tell them not to look at the abnormality directly. If someone raises doubts about this, tell them what happened to employee Yumi, who didn't follow directions and stared directly at the abnormality. Memo 2. Employee Yumi can no longer be in charge of this abnormality. She claims that she is under constant surveillance, but this is a preposterous accusation, and we believe that she has a severe delusional disorder. Most of what she says is nonsense, but to put it simply, she claims that someone keeps watching her, whether she's eating or going to the restroom. Also, whenever she sees anything like a keyhole or a crack between a door, she will become hysterical and try to seal any hole that she sees. However, what's more aggravating is that her mental corruption levels read normal, which makes it difficult for us to dispose of her by the system. Please replace her soon. Memo 3. Oh, the request we made before was resolved. Employee Yumi was found in her room. She covered all the holes in her room with duct tape, including the vent. She even stabbed her eyes out with a pen. The delusional disorder seems to have been resolved as well. She's not muttering nonsense anymore. However, I have to wonder why you would want to send a blind employee to the containment unit again. I don't know what experiment D-004 is about, but I don't think it will do much good. Yeah. Once again, we just don't really know what it is, though. But that's, like I said before, that is kind of the joy of this. It's like, even with more context and more information, we still don't know what the hell Schadenfreude is. What is it? That looks like a human face and a human eye in the box. But if you stare at it, it grows buzzsaws and proceeds to shred your employees, just like it did for me. It's a fascinating concept, for sure, and it's an annoying one as well, just like Burrowing Heaven. They're both very annoying, both very cool, both very annoying. It's just how they are, really, isn't it? Gaze is a great set. As you guys know, I use this set endlessly for my employees. Like, if I didn't have especially good equipment to give them, red and black resistance normal is not great, to be honest. Actually, it's a fairly weak suit, but it doesn't have any prevalent weaknesses other than pale, and most suits are weak to pale, so that's not really notable. Gaze is great because all those fast attack weapons are great. Although, if the enemy does have enough resistance, you can end up just doing 0 damage 10 times, which is nothing. The gift is fine, HP plus 4 is alright. I honestly don't have a lot to say about Schadenfreude, I have to say. It is what it is, and what it is a creepy box that attacks you if you stare at it for too long. Interesting, but not really prompting of larger discussion, you know? It just is what it is. The experiments are interesting, because the situation with Yumi really reinforces what I was saying about what was it? I think it was Naked Nest that we were talking about, or Funeral of the Dead Butterflies, I can't remember. But the idea of disposing of employees who become problematic or are unusable. Right, yeah, retirement. Yeah, it was Funeral of Dead Butterflies. This is a situation where Yumi is going to be retired very soon, likely due to nameless fetus, censored, or a variety of other abnormalities. This place is not great. Next up. It's always under the floor of the containment unit, only showing its eyes and a mysterious luminous organ above the ground. There is no way to confirm what it looks like in its entirety, as it moves underground, not through the hallway. It is impossible to predict its path when breaching. For the same reason, its escape cannot be detected. Excerpt from voice records. Lloyd. You're located near the information team, right? I've heard that some employees went missing around that area. Would you mind checking to see if there are any abnormalities causing spatial interference? What? But there's no such abnormality around here. I don't detect any breaching abnormalities either. Look everywhere. Well, Lloyd, there's no sign of any abnormality, but I do see a small flower on the ground. What do you want about? What flower? The bud is glowing. It's amazing. It's strange finding something so green here when we don't even get sunlight. It's so bright. Other employees came over to look at the flower as well. You need to come and see it. The light is so bright and warm. I feel like something good is about to happen. That's not a flower. Order all the employees nearby to evacuate immediately. Do not run away in a group. You have to slowly escape one by one with quiet steps. What are you talking about? I thought I told you there's nothing nearby. Wait, I think I just felt a slight tremor beneath my feet. Is someone fixing the pipes today? Ah, screw it. Just enjoy looking at that flower all you want. Yeah, that's Meat Lantern. Meat Lantern is a fucker. One of my least favorite abnormalities, entirely due to its gameplay mechanics, which suck. Let's review, shall we? So, when the work result was bad, cliff of counter lowered. Not unusual. When the work took less than 40 seconds to complete, the cliff of counter lowered. I should point out to you that multiple things. First of all, you basically need Temperance 1 to get that long a work with no gifts, really. You can't really have any gifts either. And And I would like to draw your attention over to the left where it says, upon observation level 2 and 4, work speed increases by 8. The more you work with this thing, the harder it is to work with, and you can't go back observation levels, you're stuck this way. You're always going to have +8 or -8 seconds work speed. I assume that's directly seconds. I don't know. I assume it is. But you're always going to have -8 work speed, as it were, or +8 work speed, -8 work time with Meat Lantern, which means you're always going to be working at it with a disadvantage. And then on top of that, it's pretty much capable of one-shotting people. And you don't know where it goes. It's hard to detect as well. The only person I know in my facility who survived being bit by Meat Lantern was Pusey, and I think they survived with like 1 HP. Someone was like, oh, I think Pusey survived thanks to Welfare's core suppression mechanic, but if you look closer, no, Pusey literally just survived by the skin of their teeth. Through flat damage, no res, which was insane. But Meat Lantern's damage output is ridiculous, and it can do it as many times as it wants. There's no cooldown on that bite. If multiple employees walk over a short amount of time, it will just eat them all. It's terrible. Its weapon sucks. I like hammers, but it's a Teth. It's a Teth. This shouldn't be a Teth. It should be at least a HE, probably a VAV, for the amount of damage it does. Its gift is fine, I guess. It was pretty funny when Dino got it, but not worth it. If you're planning to build towards the end game, right, you're building towards ending the game, going through the final days, don't get this thing. It's awful. It just makes your life much more difficult. Or at least be prepared to hire an employee with 1 temperance to deal with it, and if that employee dies, well, you know, if you happen to pause and Hockma takes them out, I guess you're screwed, aren't you? It is what it is. Next up. An urgent announcement to all personnel in our company. Lobotomy Corporation supports all club activity that promotes positivity. Recently, however, we have received reports that there are group activities plotting unhealthy schemes. Due to constant allegations, we cannot help but take notice of the matter. It is against the company's rules to idolize and/or worship certain abnormalities. Nothing is allowed to be sacred in this place. Employees that try to enter the containment units of specific abnormalities without authorization will face punishment, especially if they are not in charge of said abnormalities. If you feel an impulse to throw yourself into a certain abnormality, that means you are infected. It means that it is in the process of manipulating and dazzling your brain, as do other abnormalities in this place. If this happens, please stop whatever you are doing and seek immediate mental treatment. As you have all past basic employee training, we hope no one will be foolish enough to be misled. We are releasing the blacklist to the public. Those who are on this list must take 3 days of mental treatment provided by the company and will receive punishment accordingly by their respective Sephira. We are making this list public to bring your attention to the astonishing number of infected employees around you. Please note, calling Emily, who killed herself after breaking into the containment unit of a certain abnormality, a martyr will be treated as non-compliance with the company's rules. On a side note, we would like to praise employee Dylan's courageousness in his rescuing of employee Sophie, who was about to throw herself into a certain abnormality. If you see any of your valuable colleagues displaying this kind of behavior, please promptly report it to the Sephira in charge. Dylan, I don't believe you turned Sophie and us over deliberately. I'm sure you were just worried about Sophie. She's locked up now. I heard that she repeatedly tried to escape, so they tied her to the bed. Tell me, is it wrong to have faith? We are all sinners, and our blue star is the only sanctuary that accepts us. We will be cleansed of our sins there. We all go back to that place someday. This is an instinct. You thought Emily died when she threw herself into the star, but she simply returned to her rightful place. She's a martyr. She has become an eternal star. The rise of a star is a brand new beginning. Don't you hear the everlasting sound of the trumpet? When you stand close to the star, you can hear the welcoming cheers and singing. If every employee returns to that place, only Blue Star will remain here. Let us meet again as stars. So Blue Star is a bit of a doozy. It's a bit of an issue, especially in the implied lore sense where it is literally forming cults within the company to basically try and get everyone to join it. But in terms of actual gameplay, it is a bit of an issue. Agents with temperance level 3 or lower immediately die. Agents with prudence level of 4 lower the cliff of counter. When more than 60 seconds of work time take place, the cliff of lowers by 1 and the agent dies. Employees with temperance level 2 or 3 die if they encounter this thing when it escapes. It completely removes all sound from the facility, so, you know, that's not a big deal, I don't think, but it could cause issues if you're trying to listen out for something. Sometimes audio cues can be helpful, and you won't be able to if this thing is broken out. Anyone who panics will immediately be sucked into it and vanish, so they will die as well. So let's review, right? People have said that Blue Star is not actually that difficult to deal with, and those people are correct. I managed to keep this thing contained for most of my playthrough, and I'm pretty sure I could suppress this thing with a relatively high level of success. But here's the problem. It's the problem no one seems to consider when talking about it, which is weird because most people consider this in many other cases. But the problem with Blue Star is not when it breaks out alone, because things in this game don't tend to break out alone. At least not very often, and definitely not in the later days. Blue Star's issue arrives when it breaks out alongside, say, I don't know, Red Riding Hood, Censored, Nothing There, any of those or all of them. Or, God forbid, the Silent Orchestra, which disrupts your ability to do things and is something else you need to focus on if you want to have enough energy to beat the day. Meat Lantern is another issue alongside this, if it breaks out alongside this abnormality. The issue is that Blue Star cannot be ignored because it can kill the entire facility if it's given enough time. It doesn't need to go anywhere. It doesn't need to do anything. It will just murder everyone in the facility if it is left for long enough, which means you have to go deal with it. But when you're dealing with Blue Star, because it is quite durable, it's an Aleph, it requires a lot of damage to put down, you're not focusing on other things. You're not looking at other things. You're not doing other things. And the situation gets worse and worse. Plus, unless you are way better at this game than I am, and I'm sure there are many of you who are, most of your employees are probably not going to be EX in all stats, right? You're going to have some employees with lowered stats. You'll probably have some employees who are weak to white and have lower stats, maybe if you're really unlucky. You're going to lose employees. And if you haven't unlocked a certain core suppression, quirk yet, you're probably going to lose ego from that as well. Blue Star is a problem because it makes every situation worse. It is a situation exaggerator. It makes other situations worse. If it breaks out by itself, I don't think that's too much of an issue. As long as you're careful and if you're playing a day where you can pause, I don't think it's an issue at all. But how often does that occur? Not often. Not very often at all, especially since, like I said, this thing is quite easy to keep in containment as long as you're careful. If you encounter this on your first run, then God help you, because trying to figure this shit out with overall lower level employees than you would have if you were on, say, your second or third run is not easy, but it is manageable. But the issue arises when this thing breaks out alongside other things. Someone actually came into a VC on the Discord and started taking the piss out of me for being concerned about Black Swan during my run, where I was like, oh, I gotta be careful of this because it might piss off Black Swan. And they're like, why'd you even care? And I'm like, because it's another problem. This is something a lot of people don't seem to understand, but it's not about there being one problem in this game. It's not about the idea that Censored will break out. It's not about the idea that the Mountain of Smiling Bodies might break out, although that is a concern. It's not about the issue that, like, I don't know, Der Freischütz might shoot someone in the facility. That's not the problem. The problem is when all three of those things happen. It's what happens when 5 abnormalities kick off, or 10. This is a possibility. This is why I get concerned about these things when I was playing. That's what makes Blue Star dangerous, not on its own. But alongside other things, it is the final nail in the coffin, right? You might have been able to save yourself, but this as well just made it too much. This breaks out, which pushes the, it pushes the the trumpet system, it pushes the trumpet system to 2. As a result, Big Bird breaks out. Big Bird is going around munching people. This is killing people, which is pissing off the Mountain of Smiling Bodies. 3 Abnos have now broken out, which means Red Riding Hood breaks out. These are all things also that activate the lowering of Dream of a Black Swan's cliff of counter, and if you get a bad result with it, yeah, it also lowers. If you get a normal work result with it, the cliff of lowers. Now, Black Swan is not that dangerous, really, as an escaping abnormality, but it's another thing, and it's not exactly a pushover either. It surprises me how many people don't seem to quite understand this, but it's not one thing. It's 5 things, 10 things, 15 things, when you've already lost like 8 employees or so. This is where the danger of a lot of these abnormalities come from. Most of these are perfectly manageable by themselves. It's when they start all breaking out at the same time. But I digress, that is kind of off topic really. Where are you, my friend? I've actually forgotten. There you are. But the gear, the gear for Blue Star is amazing, right? Sound of a Star, perfect employee suppression weapon, amazing. The suit is exceptionally durable, very good. The fact that you can heal people with it, with this set, is fantastic. You give your welfare captain Sound of a Star, and they will be able to take most things. Not all things, but most things. That's very durable. Excellent suit. I never got the gift. I just kind of didn't really want to work with Blue Star that much, and it's only like a 2% chance. But that's a very good gift. Plus 10 movement speed is fantastic. Great Abnormality. Very dangerous, in the right conditions. Next up. A long, long time ago in a faraway forest there lived a magnificent bird. Its feathers were wonderfully incandescent, like the tongues of flames, and it was said that they could swallow the blackest of darkness. Many hunters longed to obtain one of its feathers, as it would be their pride and honor. There were many tales about the bird. Some said that those who caught the bird would see their families prosper for many generations. A few even claimed that one wasn't a true hunter until they had gotten one of the flame-like feathers. Others believed that one feather was so strong it could take the owner anywhere they dreamed of. Be what it may, the bird was a symbol of adventure to people. The faraway forest was soon filled with people looking for the bird. Not only hunters, but adventurers and travelers too. The once silent forest became a crowded place. People soon became bored with the rumors. They were no longer interested in the hunt. Fewer and fewer people paid any sort of visit to the faraway forest. When the bird finally became nothing but a legend, it experienced a great pain, being blinded. Now all that was left of this legend was a blind bird with bright feathers, alone in an abandoned forest. After a long time had passed, the bird found a new forest. Many people lived in that forest, and the bird just wanted their eagerness to pursue it to once again be stoked like the fiery hues of its blazing feathers. Those who succeed in the hunt are granted with one of the very feathers the countless hunters once yearned for. Caution is advised when the hunting season for the firebird finally arrives. Rash action, such as suppressing it, is not recommended. It is also not recommended to simply hunt the bird to prove one's bravery. Please remember all the hunters who had to return empty-handed. If I can catch it, just a little bit more and I'll get it. Every employee has thoughts like this, however it takes true courage to accept when to give up. I could do with learning that, taking the courage to accept when to give up, because I don't give up at anything, and I really should. I should do that more, actually. But Firebird is cool. I like him. Very cool abnormality. Very nice. Very fun. Annoying to work with, but not required to work with, and if it does break out, you just leave it alone, and it's fine. However, that damage over time, like I said, it's another case of an abnormality that isn't dangerous on its own, but when it breaks out against, like, 8 other things, it becomes a problem. If your employees just had to fight off Schadenfreude or something and you forgot to look away, as I always do, I always forget to look away from Schadenfreude, they've taken a lot of damage, they're feeling pretty weak, and then Firebird wanders in and the damage over time just finishes them off. It's that simple. It's easy to forget those things are happening when 9 other things are happening. It's a dangerous abnormality, but the gift is great. Those are great stats. The suit is awesome, and I think most of my Firebird users did pretty well throughout my playthrough. The weapon, which is not listed here, only when you defeat the Firebird, is fantastic. Very high white damage output, great for... It's actually not that great for employee suppression because the employee has to stop and initiate the attack, by which point the panicking employee can escape. But it is, if they can get the right circumstances, it is very effective at suppressing employees. Like, their SP will just shoot straight back up. And if you're fighting an abnormality who's weak to white, well, God help them, because this thing, a team of these guys using this weapon will tear them apart. Very good. We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. The black pendant is darker than any other shade of black, the most obscure of all the forms of darkness in the world. Employees should not touch or possess the pendant. Merely looking at it makes one feel as if darkness is creeping into their heart. It seems that this pendant originally made up a circle, however, it is now separated from its other half. Many employees called it the Devil's Pendant. Some say just looking at it will fill up your mind with negativity. Employees dislike being anywhere near the thing, and after all, it was the polar opposite of its other half. Many would let out similar complaints that all ended with the same remark. We wish it was only the white one. Its surroundings erode. Those who come near it suffer. This wasn't the result of the pendant's own volition. Those things only happened because of the aura it exudes. Then it must wonder, why do I exist? If my very existence corrodes my surroundings and brings suffering and darkness to whoever interacts with me, maybe I shouldn't have been born at all, just like they say. Maybe my creator only wanted to make the white pendant, and I'm just an unintentional accident. If so, how can such an impure being disappear from this world? One day, the Black Pendant heard a call. Now the day has come. It is time for us to reunite. The Black Pendant left the place it thought it would never leave. It found itself swimming away. Everything it passed turned to ruin. Destruction was but an instinct. It wasn't something that could be stopped, nor could it be hidden. It could see the white pendant. No, it could see the part of itself that it hadn't seen for a long, long time. The two opposites were swimming towards each other. For the first time ever, the Black Pendant felt meaning in its existence. We used to be one. I am, and thus you are. You are, and thus I am. We were originally together. It was a fruitless deed to divide us. Now you become the sky, and I the land. An employee who had a face colored with cheerful eyes began to grimace at their sudden burst of sadness. An employee who was quietly crying from having their heart broken dried their tears. An employee who was dragging along their broken legs stood up straight as if they always could. An employee who was on their way to the lounge suddenly fainted, bleeding from every place imaginable. As the end circles back to the beginning, those who held hope are met with despair, and those who held despair are met with hope. At the end of the beginning, the dragon which now became a great avatar soared through the sky. So yin and yang is a fantastic concept, right? Like, both from, you know, a pure conceptual standpoint and from a gameplay perspective, the idea of having the two koi fish, the yin, the yang, come together and the dragon does the thing, it's great. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. But it's also horrifically destructive and an extreme problem and a big problem. And honestly, yin by itself is exceptionally difficult to suppress, just because of how much damage it does to its surroundings. It is heavy black damage. Heavy black damage constantly. Even employees wearing black resistant armor will probably die. I'm curious if Pusey could have taken this thing. I reckon they could have. I'm curious if Xena could. I reckon they could have as well. But I think they would have been tested. My character wearing Twilight probably would have died. Yin is really dangerous, but it's a very cool concept. And the drip though, my guys, the drip. That is an amazing suit. That Guandao is incredible. Both these things are amazing. The gift is air because of the lowering of HP and SP, but 20% movement speed and 20% attack speed is godlike. That is a godlike amount of movement speed and attack speed. And I didn't see this come into play much, but 8% chance to heal as much as the damage taken is very impressive. Yin is a great abnormality. It's very cool. It's also just very frustrating and very potentially destructive. Although apparently you can use the dragon to get rid of White Knight's apostles, so that's handy. I guess. But you know, if you're doing that, then you've probably lost most of the facility anyway, and if you've lost most of the facility, you may as well just try again, because you can beat White Knight without suffering too bad casualties. Then again, you're probably going to mem-rep after fighting White Knight anyway, so that's moot. Yeah, you may as well use the dragon, to be honest. No reason not to. You can just spam it over and over again with the shelter from the 27th of March until White Knight dies. Presumably. It would happen eventually, it would just take a long time. But yeah, Yin's cool. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our final abnormality, and you know I've been saving the best for last. Warning, you've been hit by the Baldy Bald psychological attack. If a non-bald person reads this, they'll be granted the privilege to go bald at an extremely rapid pace. If one wants to stop this from happening, they must be assigned to work on this abnormality. In addition, if you find 10 or more strands of hair on your pillow in the morning, it is recommended to peruse this encyclopedia article at least 3 times. Bill, I had an amazing dream today. Brian, what, did you win the lottery or something? When I got to work, everyone here was bald, including you. Maybe even people outside of this corporation. I think you've been pretty stressed lately. Why don't you go take counseling? Employee Bill suffered an unfortunate accident with Singing Machine that day. Right after the incident, Abnormality Bold is Awesome appeared in the facility. We all cherish the memories of Bold Bill. If one comes in contact with the abnormality, they will talk or write about the positive aspects of baldness for about an hour and ultimately make themselves go bald. If you become bald, you can save time because you don't have to wash and dry your hair anymore, allowing you to be richer than others. No adverse reactions will happen if a bald employee is assigned to work with the abnormality. The bald don't have to worry about hair loss. If a non-bald employee is assigned, they will shave off their own hair. Bald people can reflect light off their head and blind their opponents like a solar flare. This abnormality's goal is to make every single human on Earth bald. We won't need light bulbs in our facility if there are more bald employees because it reflects off their heads. This will allow us to save a tremendous amount of our budget. If a non-bald employee is sent to work with the abnormality, it'll produce less energy. Did you know that every single noble in Europe during the Middle Ages was bald? They changed their wig every day. we've just added some new rules to the company code of conduct. If you ever spot a XXX mocking their co-worker with alopecia areata, they will be labeled as a hirsute and will be banned from using the lounge for an indefinite period. They will also be forbidden from joining the company's debate club, Questioners of the Absence of Bald Barbies, the Gourmet Meetup, Octopi over Squid, and the Environmental Protection Group, Save the Bald Eagles. These regulations will be lifted as soon as the rule breaker's hair strand count goes below 1. Lastly, I dedicate this article to employee TH, who is quietly taking balding medicine next to me right now. Amazing. Simply incredible. It's annoying that at the start of the game I had to get rid of your balls because, well, not the start of the game, the start of the third run. Because we had so much of the game left to go and we had so many fan-submitted nuggets to bring in that I thought people might get quite upset if they had lost all of their hair. They would get quite upset, so I had to get rid of it for that time and then wait. And then at the end of the game I got it again because I was like, well, this thing literally can't kill people. It's easy to work with, it's a win-win. And on day 49, hell, if people lost their hair on day 49, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd go into day 50 with everyone being bald. That would be fine. It'd be great even. The gift is incredible. That gift is a 10 out of 10, and I don't need to tell you why. The weapon is also a 10 out of 10. The suit is also a 10 out of 10. This is the best set in the game, bar none. Incredible abnormality, incredible gear, incredible, simply incredible. I'm debating shaving my head. Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the abnormalities. We've gone through every single one. Every single one here. Now, obviously, I've only done one backer abno, which is Papa Die. I may well do those in the future. I don't know. I'll do it if I feel like it. Continuously asking about it will not make me do it, so don't bother. But I might do backer abnos in the future. We've got 1/2 more things to check out, which is the endings that I didn't see. And I'm quite curious. Alright, so ending A, which I believe is Abel. One who does not cherish sacrifice does not deserve to move forward. I cannot open the door to someone who is not yet ready. You must stop here. Please turn back. It won't be hard, your steps will be light as a feather as you leave everything that you've shouldered. We shall meet here again once you are finally prepared. Although, I am not sure if our chance to meet anew will come or not. There's the door. Oh. That's depressing. I thought you might have had a different outcome, seeing as you found the answers. Yet, even you failed. It must mean that failure is an inevitable cycle for us then. Look on the bright side, though. Even though we're failures, we managed to achieve at least one thing. We'll be able to see Carmen again like this. Although we can't take a nap lying in the field under the warm sun like we used to. She's alive. She's watching us. Don't worry. She'll understand. She'll tell you that even though you couldn't make it to the end, you did a good job getting here at least. You will have eternal rest with her. We should have just listened to Benjamin in the first place. My biggest regret, biggest sin, is I didn't stop when I should have. Carmen is our son, so it doesn't matter if we stay underground forever. Huh. Oh, and the alcohol. Attention to all employees. We offer you our congratulations for the start of your honorable retirement. This broadcast is pre-recorded. Let us sink now, Carmen. And look, the brainstem is reaching out to the A. I know you can't hear my voice. I think they can. But I don't care. I won't try to open any more doors. I hope that I'm with you when I open my eyes again someday. We thank you for your hard and earnest work and have great respectful gratitude for your efforts and loyalty. Good night. Damn, those are some good endings actually, they're pretty good. Not good as in good things happen, bad things happen. The first one is probably the most depressing because it's just straight up like, fuck it. That's actually how you can describe that ending, is just, fuck it. And then the second one is a lot more emotional, which is quite good actually. Strangely fitting that ending B did mention the employee's retirement, given my previous conjecturings about employee retirement in this facility. It's all but confirmed by this point. It's not really conjecture. Employees retire when they die. That's obviously how it is. That's obviously what happens. And the forced retirement of the entire facility obviously means the facility is about to be destroyed, either probably through self-destruct or something. I would not put it past this facility to have a self-destruct function of some kind. Especially if, say, like, 5 fucking ALF Abnos were about to get out and they're like, yeah, we need to blow this up. Definitely need to do that. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is all of the Abno story records and relevant lore that I have checked out. That's all I need to do. We've done it. We've seen all of the dialogue. We've seen all of the endings. We've seen all the days. We've seen all the story records except for the back ones, which I may do in the future. We are done for now with Lobotomy Corporation, the game itself. And we are on our way to Ruina, but that will be then. This is now. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to Aris, Plutonium Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Leper Lullaby, K-Bub, Magical, Peyton Barrett Hill, The Frostbite, Quantum Pizza, Monsoon, Sir World, Jumping with Joy, For Warmaster Oku, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny T800 for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, all of you, for sticking with me throughout the entirety of our experience with Lob Corp. It's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey. It's weird to think it's over, but like I said in the most recent Foreman talks, I'm excited for what we've got coming. Not just Library of Ruina, but every other game. The millions and millions of other games that I need to check out and want to check out and will check out, more to the point. I have many plans for the future. We've kind of got to get through Ruina first. We'll be doing some Limbus Company, I'm sure. It would at least be worth checking that out in videos, if not perhaps playing it extensively, because, you know, those sort of endless gacha games I don't tend to put too much time into, but there would be no reason to not at least check it out. Distortion Detective is apparently getting a game. I haven't read it, but I'll have to read that and then play it and, you know, see how that's going. I think it's a visual novel, so I'm not expecting anything crazy there, but we've got more Project Moon stuff to do, but we've also got a variety of other things from a variety of other developers to do, and I'm really excited to get to those. It's weird to think the Lob Corp is over, but I want to thank you once again so much for being with me during this time. Whatever happens next time, and Library of Ruina is very soon now. Very, very soon. And when it does finally drop, I hope I see you there. Toodles, goodbye.